Hi guys, welcome back to Movie Recap. In this video, I'm going to recap one of the films from 2019, Angel of Mine. Without any further, let's get started. The film opens with Lizzie, a grieving woman on the brink of divorce, as her deteriorating mental health has driven a wedge between her and her husband Mike. She has a son named Tommy and once had a daughter who tragically passed away. Even years later, Lizzie is still struggling to cope with the loss. One day, she accompanies Tommy to his friend Jeremy's birthday party, where she notices a young girl named Lola who strongly reminds her of her late daughter, so much so that Lizzie becomes fixated on her. At the party, she is also introduced to Lola's mother, Claire. After the event, Lizzie can't stop thinking about the girl and asks Tommy about her, learning that Lola is Jeremy's younger sister. When they return home, it becomes clear just how broken Lizzie still is. She depends heavily on medication and cries herself to sleep every night, consumed by grief. Her obsession deepens the next day when she secretly stalks Lola after school, taking photos of her from afar. When Claire arrives to pick Lola up, Lizzie follows their car all the way to their home. That night, Lizzie has dinner with Tommy and her parents, during which she announces that she has a date. However, instead of going on the date, she sneaks into Claire's property later that evening. She slips past Lola's father and Jeremy and watches Lola dance near the pool. When Lola suddenly notices her and falls into the water in shock, Lizzie panics and rushes to save her, only for the girl to freak out. It is then revealed that this entire incident was merely a disturbing shower fantasy and never actually happened. The following day, Tommy grows irritated when Lizzie insists on celebrating the birthday of her deceased daughter, who died 7 years earlier. Around the same time, Lizzie discovers that Claire's house is up for sale, sparking an idea. She visits Claire under the pretense of being interested in purchasing the house, and they schedule a tour. During this interaction, it becomes clear that Claire barely remembers Lizzie, emphasizing how brief their initial meeting truly was. Claire also mentions that her family is preparing to move to Perth. That evening, Lizzie actually goes on a date with a man and even returns home with him. However, the situation quickly becomes uncomfortable when Lizzie realizes she is too emotionally unstable to form a real connection, prompting her to leave. The next morning, she attends the house tour and repeatedly steals glances at Lola, who is swimming outside. Lizzie lies about being a successful company manager, impressing Claire. While upstairs, Lizzie stares obsessively at a photo of Lola and asks probing questions about how the girl feels about moving. Claire explains that Lola is thrilled by the idea. When Claire's husband arrives home, the family gathers downstairs, including Lola, marking the first real interaction between Lizzie and the child. After Lola heads upstairs, Lizzie excuses herself to use the bathroom, but instead follows Lola. She brushes the girl's hair and eerily comments on how alike they look in the mirror. Lizzie eventually returns downstairs, says she will consider buying the house, and agrees to schedule another play date for Tommy and Jeremy. She later offers to take the boys ice skating. Afterward, the children visit Lizzie's parents' house, where Lizzie admits she never intended to buy a new home. This angers Tommy, who feels betrayed. He confesses that living in Lizzie's cramped apartment makes him miserable, as he constantly hears her crying and feels neglected due to her mental instability. He tells her he wants to live with his father instead, devastating Lizzie. Seeing her break down, her parents intervene and suggest that Tommy might indeed be better off with Mike. Lizzie spirals emotionally, but eventually accepts their advice. The next scene reveals Lizzie's workplace, exposing her earlier lie. She is not a successful manager, but merely an employee at a makeup studio. She asks her supervisor for a day off, claiming Tommy is sick, but instead goes to the ice skating rink where she watches the children skate with Claire. When Claire steps away to take a phone call, Lizzie seizes the opportunity to enter the rink and help Lola skate. She holds the girl close, presses their faces together, and disturbingly leans in as if to kiss her. Before anything happens, another skater crashes into them, causing Lola to fall and hit her head on the rink barrier. Claire panics and rushes to her daughter, clearly blaming Lizzie for the accident due to her recklessness. She becomes cold and distant as they leave the rink. Desperate to regain access to Lola, Lizzie offers to babysit both children so Claire and her husband can have a date night, but Claire is hesitant and declines. Back home, Lizzie berates herself for destroying her chances of ever seeing Lola again. Overcome with rage and despair, she takes her medication and flushes all the pills down the toilet. During a session with her therapist, Lizzie blatantly lies about her progress. She claims that her relationship with Tommy is strong, that she has finally begun moving on from her daughter's death, and that she has been taking her medication regularly. Despite Lizzie's performance, it's clear that the therapist sees through the deception. A few days later, Claire is sitting with Lola when she notices something unsettling. She spots Lizzie standing outside her house, staring. When Claire steps outside to confront her, Lizzie has vanished. Another disturbing encounter occurs during Lola's ballet recital. Lizzie suddenly appears backstage moments before Lola goes on stage, wishing her good luck. Throughout the performance, Claire, watching from the audience, notices Lola repeatedly glancing off to the side of the stage, where Lizzie stands smiling back at her. Although Lola performs beautifully, Claire can't shake the feeling that something is wrong. After the recital, Lizzie runs into Claire's husband, who casually invites her to their upcoming going-away party. When Claire notices Lizzie afterward, she is confused and disturbed by her presence, especially when Lizzie admits she doesn't know any of the performers other than Lola. The situation becomes even more alarming when Lola innocently mentions that she kept looking at Lizzie during the performance, confirming that Lizzie had been backstage the entire time. Deeply unsettled, Claire tracks down Lizzie's workplace and confronts her at a nearby coffee shop. During the tense conversation, Lizzie finally confesses everything. She admits she never intended to buy the house because she could never afford it. More disturbingly, she reveals that the real reason she approached Claire was because she believes Lola is her daughter. Lizzie explains that her child supposedly died 7 years earlier in a hospital fire, and insists there may have been confusion during the chaos. As a result, she is convinced that Lola might actually be hers. Claire is horrified, concludes that Lizzie is mentally unstable, and firmly tells her to stay away from her family before leaving. Claire later urges her husband to contact the police, but he dismisses the idea, arguing that Lizzie hasn't technically broken any laws. Meanwhile, Lizzie is fired from her job for abandoning her shift. Her manager coldly insults her on the way out, remarking that she hopes Lizzie is a better parent than she is an employee. Enraged, Lizzie tightly grips the woman's wrist before catching herself and storming out. Despite everything, Lizzie's obsession persists. She later finds Lola at a children's birthday party and convinces her to go on a boat ride. Shortly afterward, Claire calls the homeowner to check on her daughter and is casually informed that Lola went for a walk with one of Claire's friends. When Lizzie's name is mentioned, Claire immediately panics and rushes to the location. During the boat ride, Lizzie tells Lola that she lost her daughter and asks whether Lola remembers her. Lola calmly responds that she does not. By the time Claire arrives at the party, Lola has returned unharmed, allowing Claire to breathe a sigh of relief. When she asks Lola what they talked about on the boat, the girl simply replies, "Babies." At the same time, Lizzie returns home to find her parents, her therapist, and Mike waiting in the living room. It turns out she never picked Tommy up from soccer practice, forcing the school to call Mike instead. Alarmed by her negligence, Mike decides that Tommy will now live with him. Lizzie becomes defensive, insisting that her mental health has improved and that she has a stable job. However, her lies quickly unravel when her parents reveal they received messages from Lizzie's boss confirming she was fired. Unable to reach Lizzie directly, the boss contacted her parents instead. The therapist then states that Lizzie should be admitted to a psychiatric hospital. Cornered, Lizzie finally admits that she has been preoccupied with a recent realization: Lola. She claims there is a strong possibility that Lola is her long-lost daughter. Mike desperately tries to ground her in reality, repeatedly reminding her that their daughter is dead and that he personally cremated her body. Lizzie refuses to accept this, insisting that the wrong baby was cremated and that Lola is truly hers. Even her parents reject her claim, making Lizzie feel completely betrayed. Overwhelmed and isolated, she storms out. That night, Lizzie sits at her laptop. obsessively researching the hospital fire from 7 years ago and attempting to access Lola's medical records. Unsurprisingly, she is blocked. Medical professionals cannot share patient information with anyone outside the family. The only lead she receives is a voice note from a furious Claire warning her to stay away from her family and threatening to involve the police if she comes near them again. Frustrated by dead ends, Lizzie begins plotting her next move. Using a previous invitation from Claire's husband, she attends the family's going-away party and attempts to sneak upstairs. Claire's friend intercepts her, assuming she is looking for the bathroom, and points her in the right direction. To her shock, Claire is waiting when she opens the door. Claire promptly escorts her out, refusing Lizzie's suggestion of a DNA test to prove Lola's identity. Lizzie doesn't leave. Instead, she waits in her car until the party winds down. Once Claire and her husband begin cleaning up, Lizzie sneaks back inside, intent on taking a strand of Lola's hair. But the girl isn't there. She is being babysat by Claire's friend. Downstairs, Claire sets up the home alarm system, making escape impossible without triggering it. When Claire hears noises, she checks upstairs but finds nothing. Meanwhile, Lizzie hides in the closet, realizing Lola is not home. She stays inside the house overnight, searching for any trace of the girl the next morning. When she finally tries to leave, Claire catches her again. In the ensuing struggle, Lizzie lunges at Claire, who retaliates by throwing her against a painting, shattering the glass. They scuffle across the floor, shards cutting around them. Finally, Claire grabs a pair of scissors, pressing them against Lizzie's throat, warning her one last time to leave her life forever. But Lizzie has nothing left to lose. Her daughter is gone, her son is being taken away, her husband has abandoned her, and she is unemployed. She tells Claire it's okay if she kills her. Otherwise, Lizzie will never stop pursuing Lola. She vows she will obtain DNA evidence and prove Lola is hers. Lizzie's intensity and desperation finally break Claire. Overwhelmed with guilt, Claire admits the truth. She was present at the hospital fire and lost her own baby that day. In the chaos, she found a stranded infant, Lola, and decided to save her, raising her as her own. This revelation proves that Lizzie's convictions were not completely delusional. For 7 years, she was unfairly dismissed as crazy. Claire, terrified of losing Lola and of her husband discovering the truth, begs Lizzie not to take the child or reveal the secret. Just then, Claire's husband returns from picking up the children. He overhears the confession, looks at Claire in shock and betrayal, and leaves the house. Soon after, Lizzie visits her ex-husband Mike to share the discovery. Shocked and remorseful for doubting her, Mike apologizes and they embrace. Later, Lola meets her biological family for the first time over lunch, marking a bittersweet reunion. Both Lizzie and Mike are overcome with emotion, aware of the years of loss they endured. Meanwhile, Claire, consumed by guilt, must face the consequences of her actions, staring at Lizzie with regret as it is revealed she will stand trial for child abduction. The film closes on a tense, emotional note. Lizzie reunited with her daughter, Claire broken and guilt-ridden, and the weight of the truth lingering over everyone's lives. Thanks for watching, and remember to turn on your notifications to watch more movie recaps like this one.